Yo, what's good with everyone? Absent for back with a special episode. It's that time of year. The grass is getting cut, grass is freshly cut. Trees are blooming, and March Madness is in full swing. I got some of the guys here from the podcast. We got Dave, we got T, we got BT repping Vietnam, myself, the GM. We are excited about the bracket this year. People in North Carolina, I hope you got your bonus bets in. I hope you set your parlays, you set your money lines, you set your overs and unders. You
Hey,
know,
my team
you
make that
know.
face.
I know
Don't
we've
get me
had some
started, bro.
heartbreak early on with the bonus bets. We've had some early.
Man,
We've had some early. We've had some early just rumblings of people not hitting their parlays. But I promise you, get those bets in because we are here to break down this men's bracket. Shout out to BT, Dave, and Dre for shouting out the ladies and doing their bracket predictions for them. You thank y'all guys. Showing the
appreciate
ladies
you.
a lot of love here on the Sads and Four
For
podcast. Go
sure.
check out that episode on YouTube as well. But fellas, we're going to get started with the men's bracket. There's a couple of playing games that happened yesterday. We also got some playing games that are happening tonight. And we're just going to start with Dave's team. We're going to start over here in the East region. We said it from the beginning. We said it from the jump. UConn, a dominant team pretty much the whole year. They dealt with a few injuries, I know, early on, but they were the number one overall seed going into the tournament. Won the Big East this year, Big East Conference Championship tournament, as well as the regular season. They are matched up with Stinson. And you got FIU, Northwestern at the 8-9 matchup. Another interesting matchup. You can scroll down a little bit. Iowa, the 2 seed, Iowa State, and the 2 seed in the East after winning I think the Big 12 Conference Championship, going up against the South Dakota State as a 15 seed. I know we've seen the last couple of years a couple of upsets in that particular game as well. I know we got number 4 Auburn going up against Yale, number 3 Illinois, Morehead State. So some interesting games, some interesting matchups, fellas. What are y'all thinking? Is this UConn's kind of bracket to ultimately win? Do you see anybody giving them trouble? Dave, you're kind of our UConn expert, been following the team pretty much the whole year. I'm going to, shout it over to you. Do you think UConn can just wipe through this, or do you see some potential, teams that can give this UConn team some trouble?
Yeah. So when we first got the bracket on Selection Sunday, I think we all thought that UConn we declare UConn going to the Final Four, and I think that's still the case. I think this is still like UConn's bracket to lose, but I do see some teams in which you don't want to sleep on. So in that second round, that potential second round matchup against Florida Atlantic, I don't want to sleep on Florida Atlantic. I feel like we'll beat them, but I feel like that's a team that if you're sleepwalking playing against them, you can get beat, because this is a team that just went to the Final Four last year, was one shot away from making it to the national championship game, and they got pretty much all their players back from last year. So, and I mean they have that experience, so I don't want to sleep on them. Auburn and Iowa State also present threats as well. I don't those are also some sleeper teams that could possibly come out the bracket, but overall, I mean, me personally, I got UConn going to the Final Four.
Agreed. Terrence, you looking at the East bracket, is any of these teams kind of, Iowa State kind of coming out of nowhere. They had a good team all year. They kind of went through the Big 12. Big 12 was a very much a good conference this year. Do you see them maybe causing some problems for UConn, or is this kind of like, are we headed to a potential UConn Iowa State in the Elite Eight, or do you see some other teams that might be able to crash that party? Maybe a number, like Dave mentioned, a FAU team or Illinois or somebody like that crashing the party, maybe in Auburn.
I think Illinois is hot right now, and when you have a guy like Terrence Shannon, he can be a difference maker. I think Illinois can get past Iowa State if they do meet. Um, I think they will. UConn will meet with Illinois in the Elite Eight, but there could be some bumps in the road. Also, San Diego State, another team that was in the Final Four last year. This bracket has 3 teams that were in the Final Four last year.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn is playing really good basketball right now. Bruce Pearl has been to a Final Four before. He has that experience. Auburn plays with some physicality, but I think UConn's is a more complete team. So that potential Sweet 16 matchup with Auburn could be interesting. But like Dave said, I think UConn, as of today, is the best team in the country. And I think because they'll play in Brooklyn their first two rounds and then Boston, they're going to have partisan crowds,
Mm-hmm.
both
Exactly.
Yeah.
and I think they will get out of the East region.
No doubt. BT, you want to follow up with anything, kind of your predictions? I know Terrence threw out some teams that I also had kind of in mind. Auburn playing well going into the SEC tournament. Although they didn't win it, they've been playing pretty well. Iowa
No,
State,
Auburn won
winning the
it.
Big 12.
Yeah, they
Oh,
won
no,
it.
Auburn did win. Excuse me. Auburn did win.
Yeah.
My fault.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, you got a couple of teams in this bracket that are hot. Auburn's hot. Iowa State's hot. FAU having that experience, bringing everybody back. So, BT, what are your thoughts and predictions? We kind of still all believe UConn can get to the Final Four out of this part of the bracket. But, as we all are thinking, there might be some bumps in the load around range, some potential matchups that we're looking forward to.
So I think when the bracket first came out, I think we looked at the names and there wasn't no big names, you know what I'm saying? There wasn't no Kentucky's, wasn't no Kansas's, wasn't no UNC's or Duke's in that bracket. So it was like, UConn got a cakewalk, you know what I'm saying? But if you sit back and think about it, they got 4 conference champions tournaments in their bracket right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's some bumps in the road. I mean, FAU, I don't sleep on them. San Diego State, they play a physical brand. They always got a good defensive team. Auburn, something about them SEC teams, they just fast, athletic, physical. Iowa State, I mean, they're pretty good as well, but I think Illinois has knocked them out. But as Dave and T said, and you said, it's UConn's bracket to lose. I mean, I think they'll meet Illinois in the Elite Eight. I think Auburn can give them some good bump in the Sweet 16 to scare them a little bit, but they got too much firepower for Auburn. So, yeah, I pretty much got UConn making it out the East.
The ultimate sleeper in this bracket, though, in my opinion, the team that you feel like won't make a run to the Sweet 16 but can is BYU. Yeah, BYU.
Oh, wow.
They play a good brand of basketball. They're a very competitive team. They've knocked off teams in the Big 12. They're pretty much complete. Like they're very, and I think they're very upperclassmen driven as well. So I mean that's a team that you want to watch out for too.
Yeah. Does anybody see any potential upsets? Do we see a UAB upsetting San Diego State or a Morehead State pushing Illinois and pulling out an upset? Or is this kind of an upset-free part of the bracket where you feel like, we can't say upset-free. We know how March Madness gets. Every year is going to be that one team that busts everybody's bracket. Do you see a team in this part of the bracket that could be that bracket buster, double seeded, that gets to a Sweet 16, maybe get to an Elite Eight out of this part of the bracket?
If I had a bet on the upset, I know you just mentioned BYU, but those 11 seeds, 11 seeds hit more than the 5-12. So if you're betting, and now that we're the SAF sports book, so if you're looking for an upset, you got some bonus
Is that
bets.
official now?
SAF sports
Might as
book
well. Hey, we've been on them joints.
Your smart bet is usually an 11 seed.
I could see Drake giving Washington State a little bit of issue.
I was looking at that 10-7.
Drake too.
But I think this bracket is actually probably going to be mostly
top seed
with a few upsets. Yeah, I agree.
I can see chalk easily out of this part. You threw out a good point, Terrence. Drake could give maybe Washington State, I don't know, those 7-10 matchups every year. There's like one or two that go haywire. I do not this year, and we'll get to the other regions here in a second. I I don't see the crazy 16-1 happening this year if everybody plays the way they're supposed to play. I don't see it happening. We're going to get to the other number one seeds later, but I just don't see it happening from what I see in the initial bracket right now. The 2-15, I don't see it yet. We'll get into those other matchups here in just a second, but I don't see it happening there. So definitely probably a 7-10. Terrence definitely mentioned it that the 6-11 or that 5-12 sometimes can be iffy as well, depending on the matchups. Me and Terrence say this every week. A couple of our friends say it, and pretty much everybody on Savs and Four always say it. If you're new to the show, March Madness, you'll hear to say it's a lot over the next couple of weeks. March is a guard month. Guards get you to where you need to be in the tournament. If you have good guard play, you're going to make it far. And you're going to hear us say this over and over again with some of these teams that have really good guard play coming into the month of March. So we're going to move down to the West Regional.
Speaking of good guard play.
Yeah, speaking of good guard play.
Good transition,
Perfect segue. The North Carolina Tar Heels, although we lost to our rival in the ACC championship game,
Ain't no rival.
Still the number one overall seed, the number one seed in the West, and we kind of called it. Arizona slipping in their conference tournament, left the door open. I think we did more than enough to get that number one seed in the West. This is a very interesting part of the bracket. Because speaking of guard play, R.J. Davis, one of the best guards in the country, played well all season.
All-American with my guy Tristan.
All-American.
Consistent All-American too.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be. When you talk about guard play, it's hard to not put R.J. Davis in that conversation of one of the best guards all year.
Caleb Love,
and then you got his former running mate down there at the 2 spot, Caleb Love, also Pac-12 Player of the Year. We know Arizona kind of slipped up in the Pac-12 championship tournament, but they still got the 2 seed out west. You didn't have 3 seed Baylor and then 4 seed Alabama. The simple question is this: is Carolina going back to the Final Four? Is there a path here to get Carolina to the Final Four? You got Mississippi State, Michigan State in round 1, right below them. Clemson as a 6 seed playing New Mexico. Spoke of Baylor playing Colgate. You've got Alabama playing Charleston. And, of course, the potential where everybody's hoping, and we mentioned it, Terrence mentioned it also eloquently in our group chat, CBS is just begging for Carolina and Arizona to meet in the Elite Eight. So are we going to get that matchup? We'll have to see how it plays out. But Dave, what are your initial thoughts about this particular, region? And is there a path? Could you see Carolina winning this region and going on to the Final Four?
Do I think? I mean, UNC can definitely get to the Final Four. Will they? The only reason I'm gonna say no is because I don't trust Hubert Davis. I think that I got UNC going as far as the Elite Eight, and I feel like something is gonna happen. I feel like UNC is gonna get outcoached. And
I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I gotta counter your point, bro.
I gotta counter that too, bro.
Tommy Lloyd.
Okay.
Oh Lord.
Tommy Lloyd's track record hasn't been good, bro.
At all, bro.
Wait, what's up?
Tommy Lloyd, Arizona's coach. You gotta think Arizona was
down Arizona coach.
Yeah, like a 3 seed recently. They had some disappointing.
Bro. So I don't think he'd get outcoached by him.
My question is, Dave, who do you have beating them in the Elite Eight? Is it Arizona or is it somebody else?
Oh man, that's funny because I thought I was thinking.
I'm not saying that. I think Arizona can beat. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Arizona can beat Carolina, but I don't know about the coaching thing. Like people going to challenge your point about Hubert Davis because Tommy Lloyd's track record is just a little sus. So I had to push back on that just a little bit.
Y'all got a valid point because Arizona. I mean, I don't trust Arizona either. I mean, they lost to Princeton last year as a two
Yeah,
seed.
the 2 seed.
So
Exactly.
they just, and even the year before that they had a solid team that could have gone far. I think they lost in the either second round of Sweet 16. So I don't trust them either. I mean, like, who I would have had UNC losing to potentially Baylor.
I was
I
gonna say
would
I'll
have,
give you
yeah,
Baylor, but Scott Drew.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
team that's been there, done that. Yeah,
I think Baylor's a good team, and I think they have a good coach, and I just think, on just any given day anything can happen. But I mean, I would like for UNC to get to the Final Four, but I just something there's just certain things I don't trust a lot about coaching. But Hubert Davis has proved me wrong. I think he's proved a lot of us wrong. So we'll see. Well, I mean, we'll see. But I have my reservations.
I get your reservations, Dave, because I think a lot of Carolina fans started to have those reservations just based on what happened last season. Recency bias plays a big part in that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we did not
Mhm.
play well. There was a lot of internal strife going on with the team, hence why Caleb Love's in Arizona. But I think it was a good separation. I think it sparked Carolina going in a different direction, along with some of the transfer portals guys they got in. And I think Caleb Love needed to change the scenery and going out there to
Mhm.
Arizona and being the focal point on a team, which is what he wanted, and he knew he wasn't really going to get that at UNC, also helped him out as well. Um, Tans, I'm going to ask you kind of an interesting question. Do you think this whole been some rumblings about this 8-9 matchup, and if we face Mississippi State, who plays a very physical brand of basketball, could cause Carolina some troubles? Do you think this 8-9 matchup could potentially cause a stumbling block for Carolina if they're not prepared for a team like Mississippi State that plays a very physical brand of basketball?
I think either way, you have to be bring your best. I know Michigan State's down. The record's not great. A lot of people were questioning why were they even in the tournament. 19-14 record, but it's something about Tom Izzo when you think you can count him out, he pulls a rabbit out of his hat. But I think Mississippi State is a better team. Mississippi State, I'm gonna bring up a game when
Don't do
Carolina
it.
won their last championship,
Mhm.
Arkansas. That game literally
Took,
had me about ready to throw something at my TV
took years off my
because that
life.
was
Took years off.
I was stressed because we started off the game, we were smoking them, and then we lost focus, and they came back and they pressed and they did a lot of stuff to change the tempo of the game. We were out of
Mm-hmm.
sorts, and we were just able to find a way to win. That was one of our hardest tests in the tournament that
Mhm.
year. And Mississippi State, kind of a similar team, athletic, defends well. We just saw them blow um, Tennessee out in the SEC tournament. So, you know,
Yeah.
I think if Carolina doesn't get to the Final Four, I think it could be Mississippi State. Um, Looking at some
Oh,
of these other games, not to get off topic, I think Grand Canyon is going to beat St. Mary's.
I was gonna say that.
I think New,
Uh
I do
I
have
think
that
New
as up there.
Mexico.
Man,
That is
I
up
I
think New
there.
don't
Mexico is going
know,
to beat
bro.
Clemson.
Yeah,
I
New
think New
Mexico
Mexico
is
is going to beat
definitely going to
Clemson.
beat Clemson. Let
I
me
got
tell you
Clemson on.
let me tell you about New Mexico real quick, bro. New Mexico, I saw this team play against Boise State in late January
I
out
remember
in
you
the
spent that
pit
game. Yep.
In Albuquerque. If you want to see more about it, check out our Instagram. We got a reel up on it on our profile. But New Mexico, they have a 3 guard lineup: Jamal Mashburn Jr., uh, Jamal Mashburn's son, former NBA player; Jalen House, son of former NBA player Eddie House, and they
Oh
got
wow.
Dent. His last name is Dent. I forgot his first name. But 3 guard lineup. What we say about guards, you need excellent guard play to advance in the tournament. Coaching, um, I don't know too much about their coach, but they've
Is it?
had a really great run so far. They're clicking at the right time. Before their conference tournament, they were on the bubble. They were able to get some good wins in the conference tournament and win the Mountain West. So they're clicking at the right time. But yeah, I think I definitely give them Clemson, and maybe they can challenge Baylor in the next round. But definitely, I think they can beat Clemson for sure.
Just to add to your point, Dave, about coaching, they are coached by Richard Pitino, Rick Pitino's brother, so they have
Yeah.
pedigree at the
Okay.
Oh
coaching
wow.
position.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a good
So
shout.
they have
Yeah.
coaching pedigree. But yeah, I think there's some upsets in this bracket, but I think maybe as a fan, I want Carolina and Arizona in the Elite Eight. So
Yeah.
I think
that's what I have in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I think that's the one that all of us kind of, if you're a fan of basketball, a fan of guard play, and you're just a person that likes stories and narratives, that's the game I think everybody's like trying to, if it plays out that Arizona and Carolina get to the Elite Eight, the build up for that game is going to be just all about RJ and Caleb. It's going to be
That
all
has to be
about
the
what happened
Sunday.
last year.
That has to be the Sunday
Night game.
afternoon, evening game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It
has to be. If the networks are smart. And
I
to
was
Los
say,
Angeles.
Yeah, it's either gonna be
it's
Saturday night or Sunday night. Yeah, it's either gonna be Saturday night or Sunday night. Yeah.
It's got to be that marquee game. It's got to be the game that everybody. It's got to be, if the networks were smart, like T said, that's going to be your marquee game, either Saturday night or Sunday night. BT, what do you think would be the perfect path for Carolina to get to the Final Four? Like, if you just had to say, okay, we beat this team, beat this team, beat this team, beat this team, what would be the perfect path for Carolina to get back to the Final Four?
I ain't gonna hold you. I don't really see the perfect path because each one of these teams can present a different challenge to UNC. So I don't want to say a perfect path, but I mean, if I had to choose between Mississippi State and Michigan State, I'd choose Michigan State. I just think Mississippi State the better team, more physical team. So I'd rather go against Michigan State, Mississippi State. I'd rather see, and I know the seeding is crazy, but I'd rather see St. Mary's and see Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon play a up-tempo style. They can score. Their offense is sick. You have UNC defense a little bit of problems. So I'd rather see St. Mary's and Grand Canyon. Alabama, who Alabama got? Alabama
they got Charleston. They got Charleston in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, Bama gonna beat them boys.
So look at UNC's path to the Final Four. UNC, okay, first round, second round, you possibly face a Mississippi State. You saw what Mississippi State did to a team like Tennessee in the conference tournament. Mississippi State was fighting for their life. You know, they're on the bubble. You know, that's a physical team there. And then you're either playing Alabama. You know Alabama's gonna get physical with you. And the thing about St. Mary's, I watched St. Mary's a few times this season. They're slept on because they're in the West Coast Conference, and you know the only teams that have come out of that conference have in the past have been Gonzaga and St. Mary's. But St. Mary's is physical. Is a physical team too, and I don't think you want to undermine them either. But you know they're also a team that could get upset in the first round or lose to Alabama in the second round. So that you have that, and then possibly Arizona or Baylor in the Elite Eight. So
UNC path gonna be tricky. Yeah, it's gonna be tricky, man. It's gonna be some tricky situations.
It really is, and you know, we got a young bull on the Alabama team actually from down my way, Stevenson, who's a freshman, putting up minutes for the Alabama team. So that Alabama squad they've been kind of up and down all season, but they've got a pretty good record. I can see them causing some trouble if they happen to play Carolina in that Sweet 16 game. You know, like I said, I kind of agree with y'all. I mean, there's a path there, but every game is going to depend on matchups. And I just need, for the love of God, Baycock to play physical for the full 40 minutes and not take breaks and not play soft and not play like you're not an All-American. I just need you to do that, because some of these teams, I should not have you sitting up there barely getting a double-double. I mean, you need to be at least 15-10 every game this tournament. Like, RJ is going to lead and get his, but I just need to light a fire underneath Baycock. Like, you know, some of these teams have size. We spoke about the physicality Mississippi State brings. We know what Tom Izzo's teams can do in the tournament. We've seen the size, as Dave said, with St. Mary's. Some of these other teams, Baylor's going to be physical. We know what they can do. In Arizona, I mean, Caleb Love is going to come out with like a house on fire. So you cannot – this is not the year for to have one of those classic Carolina games where we don't take a team seriously and we end up not trying to have a cardiac comeback in the second half. Like, these games are going to have to be where our stars step up, especially Baycock to complement RJ. And that's just
All right.
my final thought about
So
the.
let me say this real quick. For UNC to even get to the Final Four, they need a third scorer, bro. Like RJ can't do so much. The boy
Yeah.
is
Ingram.
6 foot tall, if that. You know what I'm saying? So they gonna need Cormac or Harrison
Cormac,
Ingram to show up.
Ingram.
Those would be my two
They're gonna
candidates.
need them to show up.
Your boy Cadeau has got to give good minutes off the bench. If I need
he's
Cadeau.
starting. He's starting.
Not Cadeau start.
Oh, he'll
Not Cadeau
start.
start.
If Cadeau can give
start.
them, if Cadeau can become a consistent threat, then it creates another matchup for teams to have to worry about. And if he can have a breakout tournament, Carolina becomes dangerous because then we can run multiple sets of guards at teams. So if he can step up, and the one thing we really didn't talk about with Carolina is we are one of the better defensive teams in the nation. We really stepped up our defense this year. So we can't give some of these teams problems just with our set defense. But if we get into a track meet, that's when we tend to get in trouble.
Well, not only that, but we all real quick, and then we'll move to the next region. But we offensively have lulls, and a team like Grand Canyon can get up and down and score.
Yep. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Some teams, reason why some teams struggle in the tournament because they can't score, because you're gonna have a game.
Virginia.
Your defense isn't going to be good. It's just going to happen. Teams hot. It's inevitable. You have one game where your defense isn't quite what it's supposed to be, so you're going to be able to score to match that. And at times, this Carolina team, surprisingly, they have these offensive lows as well. So, something to watch out for.
Well, wrapping up.
Speaking of offensive lows, though, the Houston Cougars.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving over to the South Regional.
They got smacked in that championship game.
Yeah, we don't know what happened to Houston. Still ended up getting the #1 seed in the South, but definitely took an L in that championship game for the Big 12. I mean, don't know what happened there. The 2 seed, and I know Dave would know a lot about this team. Marquette had a really good season this year. They are the 2 seed in the South. Their 3 seed is Kentucky. Shout out to our boy Travis, his boys with the 3 seed, and then rounding out the 4 is that team that should not be named from down the road in Durham. So this region to me is interesting. You've got some teams in here that are some household names. You've got teams in here that have had interesting NCAA tournament runs here recently. You've got State, who won the ACC championship. You've got Kentucky. You've got Florida, who will play a team that is to be determined. It's either going to be Boise State or Colorado. They're playing later on tonight to see who takes that slot. You've got a Wisconsin team, 8-9 Nebraska, Texas A&M. So, Dave, what are your thoughts on this region? You know, I know you know a lot about Marquette, being that they played UConn a few times this year as well. So, what are your thoughts about the South region? Is it Houston, or is it, you got a lot more chaos happening in this region than others?
So I'm not gonna. So as far as Houston, even though they're coming off a really a bad loss as far as like how they looked, I'm not gonna deny the fact that all year this is a team that is very. They're also really good defensively. They're very athletic at every position. They're disciplined for the most part. I feel like this is a team that will compete to be able to get to the Final Four as well. But however, I think the best team right now in this bracket is Kentucky, just for how they play towards the end of the regular season. Although they didn't play well in the conference tournament, I still think that this is a team built to make a run because they have guys like Reed Shepherd, Rob Dillingham, Reeves, and I think Justin Edwards, to name a few guys. That can help them along the way. And Marquette. So Marquette is a good team. However, they're missing one of their best player, Tyler Collette, he was a former Big East Player of the Year last year. He was sidelined due to injury during the conference tournament, but is expected to play on Friday. So we'll see how that goes. But I think regardless, Marquette is not. I think Marquette can lose to Florida in the second round. I think Florida is also a team that's clicking as well, and teams that that you may not believe can make a run to the Sweet 16. I'll give you one team out of this region. I think Texas A&M can make it to the Sweet 16. I think Texas A&M can beat Nebraska and then beat Houston to get to the Sweet 16.
Wow.
I think James Madison can beat Wisconsin in the first round. I think NC State can beat Texas Tech.
Vermont can beat Duke. Don't sleep on Vermont.
Yeah.
I was going to ask that question, y'all. Is Duke on upset alert with that 13-4
Yes,
matchup?
Yes, they are.
For sure. They are.
We've seen Vermont do some magic in the tournament before. Remember when they beat Syracuse?
Yeah.
Yep.
05.
Yeah,
that tournament like it was yesterday because we won a natty. But I think Duke's on upset alert. I mean, and my boy, he's not on the pod, but my boy Roy, he admitted it, and most Duke fans, real Duke fans, admit there's no dogs on Duke.
None.
McCain might be the closest dog they have, but that man has painted nails, bro.
I think
no real dog.
Besides the painted nails, though, the boy can hoop, though, bro. The boy can hoop. Besides the painted nails.
But come on, bro. We're talking about two dogs, bro.
Nah, they don't got none.
I mean,
they don't got none.
A different sport, but I mean,
man,
Caleb Williams also painted his nails, and
bro.
he's talking about a number 1 overall draft pick. So I mean,
is Caleb Williams a dog or is he talented, bro?
Both.
Whoa.
Both.
Another pod topic for another day. We'll get into that after the draft. Let the draft happen.
I think he's talented, but I don't know if he's a dog.
I thought you talking about Caleb Love. My bad. Oh snap! I thought you
no.
My bad.
Dave was like, "Wait a minute."
I thought you talking about Caleb Love. That's why I said both. That's a different topic for another
Caleb
day.
Williams has painted nails too, so that's a whole. We ain't gonna get into that.
We'll talk about that shit later. This March Madness right here.
This new generation.
We're gonna put a pin in that conversation for another time. But I totally agree. I had Duke on upset alert. They just not. They don't have that it guy. That guy that has that can take your soul out type mentality. I think it's a lot of guys that just play, they're talented, but they play system ball, and they tend to fall into these lulls of, we're Duke, we're supposed to beat you, but this year nobody's really scared of them. And I think if they're not watching
John Shire, Duke fans have been complaining about John Shire a lot, especially recently.
If he loses to Vermont, is he on the hot seat for next year?
Yeah.
Even with the class he's got.
I won't say he's on the hot seat, but
the
rumblings are going to start.
The rumblings are going to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember.
He hasn't done anything yet.
No, he got bounced in the second round last year.
Yeah, got to the Final Four the year before that.
No, that was Coach K. But
that was Coach K. That was Coach K. My fault. So yeah, last year got
I'm gonna give you a little. I'm gonna give you a little reporter. I'm gonna go reporter mode and give y'all a little nugget real quick. When I was at the Final Four, no lie, I heard a reporter that was for CBS. I'm not gonna say his name. While he was on the phone, and he was talking about how many of the Duke brass, the people who were in charge that make the decisions, a lot of them did not want John Shire to be their coach.
Oh, wow.
They wanted Tommy Amaker. They wanted potentially other guys. Dawkins. They could have went a lot of ways, but a lot of that Duke brass wanted Tommy Amaker. Proven head coach. Coach K used whatever muscle he had left with the Duke brass to get John Shire the head coaching job. Kind of like how Roy Williams used his muscle to get Hubert Davis the coaching job. I can say it's worked out better for Carolina so far because Hubert Davis did take it to the national championship game.
Yeah.
John Shire has been out-coached a couple times lately. Losing to NC State in the quarterfinals is unacceptable, especially to that fan base. And I think Duke is on upset alert. I don't think they've played well lately. People are questioning their toughness, including Duke fans. A lot of Duke fans admit that this team is soft at times. Filipowski is a good player, but sometimes he gets frustrated. He whines a lot. He complains a lot. If he can get physical with him and the rest don't call, you know what I'm saying? So I think Duke's on upset alert. But to get back more on the topic, I think this is Kentucky's reason to lose, but just because they have the best guard play. And I know Kentucky at times doesn't defend, but Kentucky actually locks in on defense. Their offense, we've seen them put up 100-plus points most of the time this year. And when you have a guy like Rob Dillingham and Reece Shepherd who can flat out score the basketball, you're always going to have a chance because Rob Dillingham's that guy that can put the team on his back and take a team to the Final Four. And Houston doesn't have that guy. Yes, Houston can defend, but they play Kentucky. I think Kentucky has the potential to get hot. I mean, we've seen Rob Dillingham score on great defense. We know what the other guard, Reed, can do as well. So, I mean, you have two potential top 5 picks in your backcourt. That is going to be enough, I think, to get them to Phoenix, in my opinion. I just don't think Houston can score enough if Kentucky locks in. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, Houston has that guard Will Shed. I think their starting point guard, but Will Snead. Yeah. I don't. He's not someone that.
Hey, Rob Dillingham.
Yeah, he ain't. No, he's not a scorer like that. He's not a scorer like that. So
he's a great floor general. He defends. He makes some clutch plays and some clutch baskets here and there, but he's not on that level of just a straight up bucket like a Rob Dillingham. Rob Dillingham reminds me of Malik Monk a little bit.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
BT, you see any other upsets? Any teams that need to be on upset alert out of this region, or is it?
James Madison can beat Wisconsin or Nebraska. Who they got? Wisconsin. Yeah, James Madison can beat Wisconsin. But other than that, like T said, man, I got Kentucky coming out this region. And of course, I think Vermont could beat Duke. But that James Madison matchup is definitely, I see them going to the next round. I actually got them going to the Sweet 16, to be honest with you.
Who? James Madison?
James Madison. Yep.
Oh, if they can like beat, they can beat Duke. Yeah.
Yeah, I got them going to the Sweet 16.
Duke or Vermont.
Yep.
You see, James Madison, real quick, they only lost 3 games, so they know how to win games.
True.
You got a team that's a 12 seed that's won a lot of games. Those are the most dangerous teams because they're not going to.
Those are. They are. Those mid-majors that have like 28, 29 wins that come in as like a 12 seed. Too. Yeah.
When they called their name on Sunday, I was like, a 12 at like they're 30-3, like 29-3 or whatever. At
just something ridiculous.
I'm like, what?
Some of these 11 and 12 seeds that have like 28, 29, like I said, Brad, 30 plus wins or under.
They have 31 wins in the season.
Yeah.
James Madison does.
I'm like,
those are the teams that, like T said, those are the dangerous ones. Those are the ones that you have to kind of keep your eye on because it's like, what was the tournament selection?
You're going to bet on a team. You're going to bet on a team that's like a lower seed, like a 12 seed. Those are the type of teams you usually would bet on.
Mm-hmm.
So James Madison definitely, I think they beat Wisconsin. Like I said, Vermont versus Duke, that's a 50-50 game. But something tells me that Duke is going to be had for some reason. I just have that feeling about that Duke game. And then also, I think Florida is a dangerous team in the second round for Marquette as well. So I agree with you, Dave, earlier.
Yeah, but I also want to so if Boise State beats Colorado, I also don't want to count out Boise State either because
we were talking about them last night.
Yeah, because I I saw them play against New Mexico, and I was like, I saw 2 mid-major teams that you could potentially see in March that can give you problems, and Boise State, they got this. They got their starting point guard. He has a very unorthodox shooting form, but he was giving New Mexico problems. So I feel like Boise State can give Florida a lot of run here, but I still think Florida's the better team.
Agreed, and I kind of agree with y'all. I don't know what it is about this year and the way this bracket is kind of panned out for Kentucky, but this could be one of those PayPal Cal Kentucky type runs where they, as a 3 seed, people talking about them but not really talking about them. But I feel like they could easily just, with the like you said, you have 2 guys that are projected going to the NBA draft at your guard spots. Could definitely go on a deep run and get to the Final Four out of this region. No disrespect to like Houston or Marquette, but Kentucky got, a team that could put up 100 on any given night. And that's hard to contend with, putting up that many points at the college level. So last but not least, We're going over to the Midwest region. Purdue is the number 1 seed there, followed by a Tennessee team at the 2 seed, going up against St. Peter's. We don't know quite who's going to play Purdue yet. Or I think the game did go final, I believe.
Yeah, Grambling won.
Shout out to the SWAC. Grambling will be playing Purdue. And then we got Tennessee versus St. Peter's. And then we got at the 3 slot, we got Creighton versus Akron. And then we got at the 4 spot, Kansas versus Sanford. But big news coming out of Kansas yesterday. They are shutting down one of their best, arguably their best player.
Yeah, Kansas is going down, bro.
A lot of people probably now.
Hunter Dickinson ain't playing, ain't he?
I don't know if he's.
I think they said he's coming back and he's going to try to play.
Oh, it's McCullough. It's McCullough
McCullough
is shut down.
Yeah.
Real quick, McNeese State's another one of those 12 seasons that has 30 wins, only 3 losses. Kansas is not the. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong team. I'm sorry. Sanford,
yeah.
Sanford's 29 wins, so pretty much the points the same. Sanford is a team, and also McNeese State versus Gonzaga. I actually think that in this, I think you're going to have a 13 out of 12 win in the Midwest. I think McNeese State is going to beat Gonzaga. They play fast, they get up and down. Gonzaga is not your typical Gonzaga team. And also, Kansas' lack of depth has been a problem down the stretch of the season. And like I said, without McCullough, I think they're due for.
They're right for picking. Yeah, I was going to get into that.
Also, and I heard this the other day, but Dana Altman, Oregon's coach, has never lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. South Carolina is on upset alert as well.
Oh wow.
This bracket has a lot of upsets in it. Like so,
I'm about to say this region might be the region that destroys a bracket or two.
So this is one of the regions like that 8-9 matchup is always interesting because like Utah State could be a 9, TCU could be an 8. I think TCU can beat Utah State, even though that's not really an upset. Yeah, McNeese over Gonzaga. McNeese is a 30 win team. Sanford, especially with because Kansas is already lacking in depth, and you have one of your best players is shut down, and even Hunter Dickinson is coming back, and he's still coming off an
dislocated.
So
a dislocated shoulder that can pop out at any time.
Yeah, and he dislocated that shoulder like just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So and then South Carolina, they're not like. They started out really well, which helped them out. They dominated their non-conference schedule. They got some good wins in the SEC. Oregon is a team that that struggled during the season, then caught fire, won the Pac-12. So yeah, and to T's point, Dana Altman has a loss in the first round. Texas was in the preseason top 25. They started off as a good win back in November and December. UConn beat them in one of the in-season tournaments earlier in the year. But Texas has struggled. Like if you haven't paid attention to them, like they've been very up and down. I think Colorado State can beat Texas. I think Colorado State can beat Texas, and just because I don't fuck with Creighton, I'm gonna pick Akron. But I don't really know. Akron shouldn't have won. I don't know if y'all were watching this game, but Akron should not have won their conference championship. If old boy did not foul, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Not like so.
Oh man.
Kent State had just scored to go up 1, and then it was like 6 seconds left or whatever. Like Akron inbounds the ball, and dude fouled a guy from Akron, not knowing like they were up 1 already. He fouled them thinking that they
basketball
were down
IQ,
1.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow. They thought they were still tied. Oh wow. Or down.
He thought that they were still down. He thought that they were still down and that he needed to foul, but now y'all just need to play defense. Because when he fouled, it was like 4 or 5 seconds left. So, and Akron had to go the length of the court anyway. So, man, I felt bad. I felt bad for the kid because like I know like his teammates were trying to try to tell him to keep his head up and everything. But man, I feel very shitty if that was me, bro. Like I feel very shitty. Yeah, like.
Yeah, I feel bad for the
But yeah,
dude.
fellas, I'm gonna be honest with you. Purdue by default is gonna get to the Elite Eight because outside that 1-8-9 matchup, I mean, all the higher seeds we're predicting are going to be bounced. So Purdue should get to the Elite Eight by default. They should.
Yeah, they
but
should.
we've seen them
should.
fold before.
But
I think that
Purdue can lose to TCU or Utah State though.
They have that ability to be able to be that team that could go all the way to the Elite Eight, but then also get bounced in the second round. That's the problem with Purdue. Like a lot of people are high on Purdue because of Zach Edey, but Zach Edey technically can be neutralized if you play Purdue the right way. And it's all about matchups. So it's like I see what Dave is going at. They could lose either Utah State or TCU because it's Purdue. But they could also get to the Elite Eight and play a Tennessee or a Creighton or whoever comes out of that part of the bracket, just on the fact that, like you said, we might be looking at McNeese could easily take out Gonzaga. Kansas is a wounded duck right now. And if Sanford comes out motivated, they can knock Sanford out. So then you're looking at a path for Purdue to possibly get to the Final Four. But who do y'all guys coming out of this region?
Hey, I want to make one quick point about Purdue real quick. So remember 2 years ago when Purdue, I mean, they had Zach Edey as a sophomore and they had Jaden Ivey as a freshman.
Yep.
And they had like all these like different role players, some of the same role players that are on the team right now. And they got bounced by St. Peter's in the Sweet 16. But that team had potential to get to the Final Four. And like you were saying, Brad, as far as like how you can game plan against Zach Edey, we saw Fairleigh Dickinson did it last year.
Yeah.
Guys were literally scared to shoot. Guys were literally scared to shoot for Purdue. Like Fairleigh Dickinson was basically saying, everybody else, like Zach Edey's not going to beat us. Everybody else can beat us, and nobody else could do it.
And we've seen that happen before.
Game. I was at that St. Peter's game. They did a good job of keeping Edey off the offensive glass. They kept in a half-court games. Jaden Ivey didn't really go off like I thought. That was the first time I really wanted to see what Jaden Ivey could do because they were talking about him being a top 5 pick. And St. Peter's kind of neutralized him for the most part. So, and like you said, last year, you lose to Fairleigh Dickinson, guys, the pressure got to them. So, I mean, that 1-8 or 9 matchup could be very difficult for Purdue. I just think that they find a way to get past that, and then they're going to play either a 12 or a 13, the way we're predicting, in the Sweet 16. I don't see them getting knocked off by one of those teams. But I think Tennessee comes out of the Midwest.
I got Tennessee too, man.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap things up here. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the Final Four. So based off our predictions, we would have UConn coming out of the East. We would have Kentucky coming out of the South. We would have Carolina coming out of the West, and Tennessee coming out of the Midwest. So your Final Four matchups would then be a Kentucky, a UConn Carolina rematch from earlier in the year, and then you would have a SEC potential rivalry game between Tennessee and Kentucky. Who do y'all would have winning those games? I know that Tennessee-Kentucky game, that would definitely do some numbers. Both those teams know each other fairly well. You got, I can't think of Tennessee's coach's name right now, Barnes. And,
Rick Barnes.
Rick Barnes and PayPal Kyle, Calipari. That would be an awesome matchup. And then you have a rematch of earlier in the year. UConn and UNC played each other earlier in the season. UConn bested Carolina. I think it might be a little different. It's going to be tight still. Who would y'all have winning these games and ultimately going to the championship game?
I'm going to pick with my head, not my heart.
Head over your heart.
Y'all go first.
I think UConn's going to win the championship. I think they just have the most complete team. I know as much as it
It's sickening
pains me to say it.
Yeah, it's sickening to say.
Yeah.
I think their guards have a little bit more size than our guards. Castle is a potential lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
They have the size down low, and they have a coach that's done it recently. They play with a little bit of edge. I think it's going to be close. It was close the first time, but if I'm from a basketball sense, I just don't see UConn losing. I think they will play Kentucky, and I think UConn beats Kentucky in the championship game.
I respect it.
Okay.
I respect it, dog. I respect it.
What's up?
So I'll say this:
Go
UConn,
ahead.
they should win the championship, bro. Like they got the best team, been the best team all year. They should win the championship. But am I gonna pick them to win the championship? Fuck no. You see the motherfucking shirt, nigga. You see the
Stand on business,
motherfucking.
BT.
You see the
Stand on
motherfucking
business.
shirt. I'm standing on business, nigga. Fuck all
Big
that.
business. Big
Big
business.
business. Fuck all that. I got
Yeah,
UNC
Carolina.
beating UConn. I got Tennessee beating Kentucky. I got UNC versus Tennessee. I got UNC winning the Natty.
Hey, stand on that business.
Stand on
Stand on
business.
that business.
BT
Dave,
told his heart, bro.
Dave, I
Man,
already
look, I'm not.
know where you're gonna
Hey,
go.
Okay.
So,
I respect the T. Like I said, they should win it. UConn should win it. I'm not picking them to win it though. Fuck them niggas. No cap.
Oh shit. We taking it
Dave.
there. All right.
Y'all know, bruh, y'all know me, dog. Y'all already know.
No, I
how
expected
come,
BT to pick with his heart and not his head.
Y'all know me.
I'll
Okay.
say.
So we got one matchup: Tennessee versus Kentucky. So Tennessee is interesting because I mean everyone talks about the sharpshooter, high prolific scorer Dalton Connect, but they got some other guys that have been there for a while. They got this Italian dude like Vescovi or whatever his name is.
I know you're talking about.
Like
Can't pronounce his name.
yeah, and they got the point guard Ziegler. I think he's been there for a couple years now. I know the Vescovi dude's been there for about 3 years. So they've been around. They've been kind of waiting for this moment, and so I feel like that. I just feel like that may put them over the top, especially over freshmen that have, you know, I don't know, because Kentucky's so talented. But I'm gonna go Tennessee over Kentucky. And then for UConn versus UNC. So the thing about this game, and I'm gonna be so fucking torn when this game happens, but UNC has the ability, like, to come out and just punch you in the mouth, like right away. If that happens, we'll obviously be in trouble. But I watched UConn. I've watched them like throughout the year, and the way that they move the ball, the way that they defend, the way that the depth that they have, where we're solid at every single position. Our guard, like, so we didn't, and for certain parts of the year we didn't have Donovan Clingan, our starting center. We didn't have Alex Caravan, who's another front court player for us. Solid dude. He was on our championship team last year. Stephon Castle has, he re-entered the starting lineup and has made a name for himself. And he's going to be a lottery pick this coming year. So Cam Spencer, he's a guy that if you're on the other team, you hate him, but I love that dude, man. He knocked down threes. Solid upperclassman. Tristan Newton, triple double machine. A few guys off the bench like Samson Johnson, Jalen Stewart. Complete team. And I just feel like that's gonna be too much for UNC. And so I got UConn and Tennessee in the championship, and I got UConn winning.
I'm going to start off my prediction by going one game back. And I'll go ahead and quickly get rid of the Tennessee and Kentucky matchup. I'm going to lean towards I don't know. I feel like this is one of those Calipari type years, and I feel like Tennessee's really good. You mentioned their sharpshooter, and they have some other guys that have been there consistently all year. But with the talent that Kentucky has this year, I think this is one of those sneaky years where I can see Kentucky getting back to a national championship game. So I'm gonna lean towards Kentucky to get to the national championship game. Now here's where I have to play some logic, and I'm gonna hate doing it, but I'm about to say. The reason I'm going to go with what I'm about to say is this. I'm going one game back. The amount of energy and emotion that's going to come out of that Carolina-Arizona game with all of the hype, the narrative, and everything rolled into it, I am scared that Carolina's going to come out against UConn and be absolutely drained. And they're going to come out and throw a punch the first 10 minutes and then get absolutely drained by halftime. And then that's when UConn's going to make a run and they're going to slowly separate themselves away. And RJ is going to give it everything. Baycott's going to give it everything, and it's not going to be enough. And we're going to lose, and it's going to be close, but it's going to be because Arizona took everything out of Carolina that game before. That's going to be the only reason UConn is going to be able to overcome Carolina, is that just that game before with the narratives and everything going on, all the emotion, the press, and everything's going to be talking about it. I think that is just a game where Carolina's going to give it all, but they're going to come up short. And then I have UConn ultimately beating.
Can I have one nugget to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Travel. Carolina's going to have to go to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
If they win, they probably have to come back to
Chapel Hill and
then go right back to Phoenix. That's something that you have to consider as well.
Exactly. And then ultimately,
UConn's basically playing home games in Boston. Boston's basically a home game.
Boston is like an hour and some change away from campus.
I'm about to say, all of that right there. That's pretty much home games for them. They can hop on a bus and if they want to instead of putting the kids up. So then, at the end of the day, then I have a complete team. It'd be interesting because you have a complete team and UConn playing a team that has a lot of NBA type talent in Kentucky.
Mm.
I think you have two coaches with pedigrees that won championships, and I think that UConn would edge Kentucky out in the long run, and they would host the championship again. I feel like that. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad, Brad. I just want to say one thing about UConn because a lot of the analysts are picking UConn, and rightfully so. I mean, UConn's the number one, the overall seed of the tournament, and that's pressure. I'm interested to see how UConn operates under this pressure, and it's pressure that this program hasn't faced in over a decade.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what happens. And the good thing about it, or the good thing, the bright side about it is that Dan Hurley in non-conference games, he's been very good over the last few years. He's been very good in his non-conference schedule. We actually have not lost a neutral site game since 2001, I think. Because last year we won all our non-conference games. This year we lost to Kansas, but it was at their house. So Dan Hurley's been really good with that. We've struggled in the Big East because teams are familiar with us. Teams are familiar with how we play. I mean, and it's also just the
Big East rivalry. Yeah, familiarity. Yeah.
But we've been very good. And you go back to last year. Well, and it's going to be interesting this year because UConn is going to face a tougher path than what they faced last year. Our toughest competition was the best team that we played was Gonzaga, and we played them in the Elite Eight. Other than them, we played Miami in the Final Four. Miami was not a top 3 seed or whatever, but they were a good team. San Diego State was a good team, but they were also they weren't expected to be there. We played Iona the first round, St. Mary's, and then Arkansas. I think Gonzaga, Arkansas, Miami were the best teams that we played in that run last year. So this year we could potentially be playing Iowa State and Auburn and UNC and Kentucky. That's going to be a much harder run. So I would love for this team to go back to back. It'll be the first time that will be done in 17 years. But we'll see what happens,
Gators
man.
did it. Yeah.
They're dealing with pressure
Florida.
they're dealing with pressure that they haven't faced in a while since the Jim Calhoun days. So we're gonna see.
We are going to see.
But I'll say this before we end. If
Mhm.
I was to pick with my heart, with my head and not my heart, I'd definitely pick UConn to win it. I mean, they are the better team. They've been the best team all year. Like y'all said, they got depth, they got shooting, they got coaching. They've been there before. They did it last year. So they definitely should win the championship. I would not be surprised if they win the championship. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. If I was a betting man, well, low key a little bit, but I'll bet money on UConn.
The parlay.
Slab Sportsbook.
It's coming soon. Stafford Sportsbook
Facts.
coming soon.
Facts.
I'm telling you. All right, well, that is our predictions. Feel free to fill out your brackets, have fun with it. We know we're going to see some upsets. We're going to see some crazy shot making. We're going to see upsets. We're going to see teams that shouldn't be in the Elite Eight, and we're going to have some teams that bust our brackets for sure. Continue to follow and support us on YouTube. Post your Final Four predictions in the comments if you want to. Let us know who you think you got cutting down the nets in March and in Phoenix, and let us know, what your predictions are as well for some of the teams that we have. As always, thank you to all the guys. Follow us on all social media. Continue to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast at, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast at. Continue to support us. We're going to have some coverage next week. As the NBA season is starting to wrap up and wind down, some teams are making some pushes for the playoff and trying to get into the play-in and things of that nature. And then, of course, we'll have more March Madness coverage. We'll have the first weekend results, see who's getting in to the second round and who's getting into the Sweet 16, and see what these matchups are starting to look like. So from all of us, in their absence of Dre and Corey, from all of us from Sabs and 4, we appreciate y'all, and we are out.
Enjoy the madness, everybody.